Somalia. Amazing, but is it Africa? Assalamu alaikum guys, this is Sam and welcome back to another video with me here at Sam of Somalia. I've got a little book corner video for you guys today. I want to make this a regular thing in the new year, inshallah. 2017, something I'm going to be doing I think on Wednesdays. I'm going to do like Sam's book corner. I'm going to kind of take a book, whether it's a book for learning Somali or learning about Somalia or learning, generally kind of Somali related issues. I'll take books or I'll take certain chapters of books. I'll read them and do a little review for you guys, inshallah. So what I have for you today is a book by someone called Richard Dowden. You might have heard of him before, actually, this book Africa. What I did a little while ago is sometimes, like, if I was in our city here, Truro, we've got a few charity shops there. Like, if I was waiting for a bus or something, I'd just go and look for, like, any book that has anything about Somalia in it, and I just read, whatever there is on Somalia and read about the author, what perspective are they writing from and things like that. And I thought it'd be really nice just to raise awareness about what sort of things are being written about and stuff. And obviously there's so much, like there's so much. We'll never get through it all, but just it'll be nice to kind of open up some books, share some books with you guys, encourage more reading and stuff too, and even encourage reading for myself. Like, I'm not a good reader. I mean, this is like 40 pages I had to read and it took me all day. I'm really not a good reader. I'm more of a documentary person. But anyway, so the book is, as I say, written by someone called Richard Dowden, who is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Dowden. Dowden. I'm going to say Dowden for now. He's obviously white, English. He's been all over Africa. So, like, this book, in the contents page, there are other countries even in East Africa as well. Like, there's a whole chapter on Sudan. There's 2 chapters on Uganda. There's a chapter on Kenya as well, and then other parts of Africa. Like, there's a whole chapter on Nigeria as well, and on Zimbabwe. I think there are a few other places too. No Arab countries, I don't think. Like North African Arab countries, I don't think. But most of it is like sub-Saharan African countries. And I thought it was very interesting that in this chapter on Somalia, it's from pages 90 to I think 126. So, like 35 pages. The name of the chapter is what I said at the beginning of the video: amazing, but is it really Africa? Maybe that comes from I don't know. There's this discussion all over YouTube. Like, there are so many YouTubers speaking to this idea as to whether Somalis are black or African or whatever, and that's up to the Somalis. Like, I'm not going to weigh in on that, but like. It's just interesting that, like, that title itself, like, when I first read that, I thought, like, that's so charged with ideas that you maybe already have about Africa. Like to suggest that the Somalis are not African in some way, or to question whether they're African or not, like, it shows that maybe there's a narrower understanding of what Africa is, because this is obviously a culture that is so much more culturally rich and diverse than maybe even any other, maybe all of the other continents. So, I don't really know what that means, but anyway, like, it comes out of a quote that's actually in this book, where he actually says that the Somalis don't consider themselves Africans. Like, in this book, he says that the Somalis don't consider themselves Africans. But, I mean, like, I read my YouTube comments, and there are plenty of Somalis who do consider themselves Africans, and obviously just geographically, Somalia is in Africa. So I don't know. I don't know if by that he means Somalis don't consider themselves black. I don't know if that's what he means by it, or if it means Somalis don't consider themselves like, other cultures or whatever in the African continent. But no, they don't. Like, he even mentions in the book himself, he even mentions that, like, the Somalis have preserved their cultures and their traditions better than any other group in the whole of Africa. Like, he actually says that. He actually says that the Somalis have preserved their culture and traditions better than the whole of Africa. So the beginning of the book, the beginning of that chapter even on Somalia, it's very kind of autobiographical. It's very kind of like, not autobiographical, that bit kind of comes later, but at the beginning there's like a profile of Somalia. There's a profile of what, like, the Somali people are like, brief kind of account of Somali history, brief kind of turn of events since the Civil War started in the early 1990s, and so it's very kind of like country profile. It's very like, these are the facts about Somalia, these are some stuff that have gone on, and that kind of lays some context for his story. And in that, within those 35 pages, there's actually 2 separate visits to Somalia. There's one that's in 1991. I don't know if and there's one before, no, 1999 even, sorry. And then there's one even before that. But I couldn't find the date in that, so I don't know if that was around the time when the Civil War broke out, and then he returned in 1999. But I'm not sure. I couldn't actually find the date in it anyway. But Yeah, so like I actually really enjoyed it. You know, like generally like there is people. A lot of people are kind of cynical or skeptical towards things written by white people. Even my channel, you know, like I even have people on my channel who associate me with things that like, you know, went on in the colonial period and stuff like that, and even going on now, like you know, in Somalia. So and associate that with me, with that being my fault in somehow or in some way. But yeah, so people are always skeptical of that. And this man, Richard Dowden, who wrote this book, he's a journalist. Like he's worked for the Independent. In this book, it's about him being a journalist and going to Somalia, working for the Independent. But he's also done documentaries for the BBC since. He's done documentaries for Channel 4. He's also written for the Times, I think, as well. And now he's a director of the Royal African Society. Yeah, he's the director of the Royal African Society. Anyway, that's his role now, and obviously very well travelled. I mean, this is just one of his works, and it's a pretty big book, you know, around other countries. And as I say, like I enjoyed it. Like there were some things that made me really uncomfortable when I read it, and you know, even like when you're talking about people of other cultures and stuff like that, perhaps I've even on my channel said things that would make me uncomfortable if I were to look back over it. Maybe like I've never meant to, but it's really difficult to talk about an entire group of people who are as diverse as the Somali people especially, and there's some things in here that like I was really uncomfortable with, you know, just not being concerned with women, like presents this idea that like Somali men just are not concerned with the concerns and the needs or whatever of Somali women, which I mean, you know, from my own context, like obviously in all of our communities there are issues regarding women in all of our communities, but like I mean, women run things. In Goody Somali, Hoya is like she runs things. Like there's no question who's the boss in the house. Yeah, like women run things in Somali homes, and so I mean, I don't know. I thought that I felt really uncomfortable with that sort of language, and you know, there was some other language in there. He said something along the lines of, this isn't quoting. It was something along the lines of like Saudi Wahhabism has undermined Somali culture and religion, but this like Saudi Wahhabism, that doesn't really mean anything. Like, I mean, like Wahhabi is just a term that's given. It's just a term that's used to like demonize people who actually try to uphold the Quran and the Sunnah. I think really like I've been called a Wahhabi, but I genuinely and only until recently I actually found out what it even meant. Like where it even came from and who it's actually named after and stuff like that. like I don't have anything to do with it, obviously, but so I was really uncomfortable with that. That is literally just language used to belittle people who have a certain but sometimes authentic understanding of the religion, and you know, to belittle it like that and to say that it actually like undermines Somali religion and culture, when like I don't know if he really has a place or the knowledge of Islam to say that about you know, about Islam and about the way the Somalis practice Islam, you know, because really like, he presents this idea that he kind of favors like a Sufi, more like like a Sufi understanding of Islam, and then there's kind of this you know, when women have to like cover their hair and wear hijab and like wear modest clothes and stuff, like he doesn't really like that, and refers that to being like Saudi Wahhabism, when like there are all sorts of countries all over the world who are Muslim majority countries who have practiced, you know, women have made the conscious decision to wear hijab and to cover their hair and their arms and whatever in line with the Islamic ruling, way before the Saudis like ever like exported that. So I was really uncomfortable with some of that language, but I mean, you know, as I say, like everyone's just writing from their own perspective, aren't they? And you know, maybe like when I read this one chapter, I have read some other chapters. Like I thought it would be useful to like read around other writings that he's had from neighbouring countries from Somalia. So like obviously Uganda's not exactly neighbouring, but it's almost it's in the region. So I've read the chapters on Uganda. There's 2 on Uganda, and the chapter on Sudan as well. I thought it might give some insights on how he got into Somalia. I didn't know if he would cross, because he has a chapter on Rwanda and Burundi as well, and I wasn't sure if he would cross over, and on Kenya. I wasn't sure if there'd be like information on him crossing over, and there wasn't. So I didn't find anything from me torturing myself with even more reading. But actually really enjoyed it. Like even though there were some things in here that I was uncomfortable with and stuff, I actually really enjoyed the read. And actually I probably would recommend that you guys go ahead and read it. I'll leave a link in the description. Obviously, if you guys want to go and purchase it, I'll leave a link in the description to somewhere where I'll try to find a good price for you guys, somewhere that you can buy it from. So yeah, like, it's quite a nice little book. I mean, like, on the back it is priced at £9.99, but I mean, like, I got it from a charity shop and I paid like £3.50 for it or something. I think I still got the price in here. Yeah, I mean, it was published in 2008, I think, but I mean, the map in here, Sudan, like, Sudan is still like one country. Like, I can't remember when that happened in my head, like when they actually split it up. Like, if it was published in 2008, that partition of Sudan probably happened after 2008, didn't it? It just feels like ages ago. But anyway, yeah, so it's first published in 2008. Yeah, what else is there? So, yeah, the last thing I was going to say is the fact that there are just a lot of chapters on other, like, African countries. It does give, like, a really nice, well-rounded approach to the study of Africa. So, anyway, that's it for me for now. If you enjoyed this video, and I hope you did, don't forget to like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.